And then Wasp Mun asked Mun's favorite food, and I think Lester Mun asked what my favorite food was. Oh, no, they didn't. Anyway, Mun's favorite food. I'm like partial to anything that doesn't upset my stomach, so that tends to change on a daily basis. So, like, one day I'll like pizza, and then the next day I want like burritos or something. I don't really have a single favorite food. Lester's favorite food. I've never really thought about it. The blood of his enemies. What does Norman think of Lester? I think, like, especially during Dark Reign, Norman thinks that Lester's somebody that he can use to his own ends. Like, the thing with Norman is, like, especially during Dark Reign, Norman used everybody. Everybody he could. But there was also certain people like Ares or Bob or even Victoria where he may have been using them, but there was also an underlying respect. But that's not there with Lester. He just views Lester as basically like the loaded gun that he can fire at anybody he wants. And then next one from Jan Mun is, on a scale of 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 10, Dakin's dick would recommend. 10-10 would recommend. Would bang again. Lester, why are you a butt? It's because he was born that way. He was born with it. What do you have in common with Lester? I can't really say I have anything in common with Lester, really. Like, I guess we both kind of have a sick and twisted sense of humor, but I don't, really, I mean, you gotta figure that Lester's like a sexist, racist, homophobic asshole, and I'm not, so, would you rather eat a peach or a pear? I prefer pears, because they're, like, sweeter, and there's something about the texture of peaches that throws me off. If you could dye Lester's hair any color, what color would that be? He's bald! And is norm anal a thing? Norm anal, it's actually, I say it like normal, because every time I went to type normal, I would type Norman, and then one day I typed normal. I don't know, but that's how that became a thing. And then Lesterman asks, who was your first muse? I think when I really started to seriously roleplay, my first muse was, I think it was Washington from Red vs. Blue, and he's still my favorite out of all of them. I'm very biased towards Wash. He's my space husband. Why did you choose to roleplay as Norman? I actually did it on a whim, because I was on my Lester account one night, and I realized that we had multiple Lesters, we had multiple Dakins, we had multiple Moonstones, we even had an Ares, we had a Bob, we had, I think Lee had made their Matt Gargan account, but I think there was another one active at the time, and I realized that we had, like, all the Dark Avengers, but we didn't have Norman. And so, like, I kind of waited, I think it was, like, a week or two, I realized that, and I was waiting to see maybe if one would pop up, and I made a couple posts about it, and nobody started it, so on a whim, I just decided, well, shit, why not? And at the time, I honestly didn't think that Norman was a character that I would be able to take seriously enough to roleplay, and I thought, because, like, he's, like, the only thing I like more than Norman is making fun of Norman, and I bring a lot of that to his character, and I think that's why, like, he's lasted so long, because I honestly didn't expect him to last. I thought he would only last for, like, a week, and then I would be deleting the account, but then Lee, also known as Ares, or, Red Skull, or Dr. Von Doom, or Matt Gargan, or Deadpool, or like everybody else wants me to talk about all of the War Goblin. Why I like it, why I don't, what made me like it, the saddest moment, the cutest moment, the sexiest moment, all of it. I think the thing I like about Norman and Ares is that it's such a weird fucking ship. Like, that is just so weird, and the way it came about, for those of you that might not know, is like a week or two after I made my Norman account, I got this really random magic add-on that was like, for the next 4 hours, you're incredibly sexually attracted to the first person on your dash. And it happened to be War God Ares. And I was like, I started cracking up laughing because I thought that was fucking hilarious. And Norman tried to hide in his office, and that resulted in like kinky desk sex. And he's mad because his desk is still scratched up. But anyway, so that's how that happened. And like, I honestly didn't think it was gonna amount to anything. I thought it was just gonna be like a little one-off thing from a magic add-on. So that's really the only reason I rolled with it, because I figured, hey, it's a new account, why not? Nothing's gonna come of it. Apparently it did. I don't know how. I don't even know how it really got started. I think it was like 3 in the morning, and I had an idea, and I sent it to Lee and was like, I had this idea. And next thing we know, goblin babies. Why I don't like it? There's really no reason why I wouldn't like it, aside from the fact that, like, sometimes it's exhausting because Norman's just such a dick. Like, why can't you just love your husband, you fucking asshole? The saddest moment, so far, I think it was that night Norman and Ares got into a fight in the kitchen, and Norman made a crack about Ares giving Alexander up to Nick Fury, and Ares just lost it and popped him in the mouth. And it was kind of funny, but it was also kind of sad because, like, it seems like Norman's trying to sink my fucking ship, and I want to punch him in the dick. The cutest moment? Literally, anytime Gobby comes out and Gobby starts fucking with Ares, because, like, the difference between Norman and Gobby is that, like, Norman doesn't really vie for attention a lot, sober, but Gobby, like, at the same time will say that he doesn't want the attention. I used a metaphor once saying that Gobby's the type that would, like, be yelling about how he doesn't want attention while he's trying to climb in your shirt and hug you and shit, kind of like a dog. The sexiest moment would be, I don't even know. I want to say, I don't even know. I can't really answer that. When will Lester get on Dakin's dick? When will Dakin get on Lester's dick? Actually, I don't know if many people know this, but my Lester account is actually kind of an AU account, because it's based on a idea from an old roleplay group that me and my Dakin came up with, where Maria Hill had a baby, and then this group paid Lester to kidnap the baby for them, because they, like, wanted to raise her to be, like, some sort of evil super spy or some shit. And I came up with an idea, or they came up with the idea about what would happen if Lester went to drop off the kid and the group just never showed up and he got stuck with the kid. And it was like, for some reason, his first thought was to call Dakin and be like, I got this fucking baby, what do I do with it? And, like, originally they were just gonna keep her for, like, a few days, maybe a week or two, to see if the people that ransomed her ever would pay up. And then they didn't, and then, like, 15 years later she's still around. And so it's basically like reluctant boyfriends slash daddies. It's like they're the best slash worst parents ever. And so, yeah, they've in our timeline, Beth is actually like 15, and so they've actually kind of been heterosexual life partners, or should I say bisexual life partners, for Dakin for like years now. So they've actually banged a couple times, but you'll never hear Lester actually admit it. Peanut butter or jelly? Both. Bee sting or cat scratch? Probably cat scratch, because I've been stung by bees before, and it's like the worst fucking thing ever. What does Lester fear the most? Lester fears being paralyzed. That's actually canon. That's, like, literally the only thing he's afraid of. Because I think he's just too fucking stupid to really be scared of stuff, but being paralyzed terrifies the shit out of him, and he's actually been paralyzed, like, 3 times in the comics. And so that is something I really love to play with, because it's, like, the one really true fear that he has, and it is so horrible for him, and it's wonderful. What grosses Lester out? I would say, like, normal things would gross him out, like people not being obsessed with killing hookers or something would probably gross him out. What would Lester do if he was a normal person, like his life or his job? I think we did an AU about that once, or I talked to somebody about doing an AU of that. I think I actually mentioned it to Waspamon, but I know that Felicia Munn and I did, Unlucky with Love, by the way, for Felicia, did a roleplay on Skype once that was like a domesticated Lester AU, where like Felicia and Lester were kind of having a thing, and like she had domesticated him and put him on this like metaphorical leash to where he wasn't allowed to just go out and run wild and kill people, and they had like a dog, and it was actually kind of funny. But if he was a normal person, I don't know, because the thing is, if he was a normal person, he probably wouldn't be Lester. But I guess, well, he wanted to be a baseball player originally, and then he decided that'd be funner to kill people. So I guess he would probably still do that. He would probably be like a professional baseball player. Can he ever be normal? No. Does being normal scare Lester? I don't think it scares him, because I don't think he really views himself as abnormal, is what it is, too. Like, Lester's just Lester, and I don't think it's ever really bothered him. But, no, that doesn't really bother it. Ozbut Muse, why are you so old? Oh, Norman Muse. I don't know, just blame the comics. And, like, how even old is Norman? I know there was, like, a Marvel Knights Spider-Man that came out, I want to say, like, in 2005 or some shit, where Peter yells at Norman that he's, like, a 55-year-old man. So Norman's gotta be pushing fucking 60, man. Do you love me? Yes, Waspman. I love you.